What the hell are you doing? I'm Batman! No. No, you are not. But I am here to review Batman vs. Batman Begins. An interesting old school versus new school. To the Batmobile! In terms of story, the two offer good starts to Batman for different reasons, but are good equally. The 2005 variation explores a deep origin and shows how the murder of his parents has made him determined to seek retribution, but is blinded by revenge and not realizing that this is not how his family would have approached the situation. It was good to see an explorative origin of Batman, where we see him on a quest of self-discovery to hone his skills and learn what he has to become in order to carry out his vision of justice.
Via the same token, you can argue that so many people know the Dark Knight's origin so well that it feels unnecessary. The origin has been done in comics and cartoons so often throughout the years that in all honesty it feels quite insulting. 2004's The Batman is especially guilty of this, where the show shoehorns in that Bruce finds remotivation through the memory of losing his parents. Right from the first appearance of Mr. Freeze in Season 1, and to the Batman vs. Dracula movie in 2005, where he escapes the vampire's influences by remembering his parents' murder yet again.
When you put it like that.
The 1989 movie explores the origin very briefly in a flashback scene where Bruce is with his parents and a much younger Jack Napier shot them. This is where I feel the Tim Burton movie has a better grasp on the story, as this movie does not need to build Batman from the ground up. All it needed was that brief scene establishing a childhood trauma that happened so young that would manifest over time into becoming obsessed with ridding Gotham of crime, so that what happened to his parents would never happen to anyone else again.
Well, that, and a lot of people consider Jack Nicholson the quintessential Joker. Jack just stopped being Jack when he became the Joker, when he wore the suit and the makeup and the character took a life onto itself. It just felt very natural for him to utter these very dark lines whilst doing it with a smile on his face. But, taking into consideration, this man has a penchant for playing dark characters, from The Shining, The Postman Always Rings Twice, to Wolf. Are you really surprised that this man could pull something like that off easily without even trying? Just a pity it went downhill after Batman and Robin. We don't speak of that movie.
And it took 8 years before it got to Batman Begins before we could enjoy a Batman flick again and take it seriously. That's the problem. I felt that after Begins, it took itself too seriously with The Dark Knight, that a lot of studios felt it had to adopt the template of a dark, edgy and realistic formula for their movies to work. This can be seen in the awful Fantastic Four reboot, Man of Steel, and Amazing Spider-Man to some degree did this. The thing is, this only works for Batman because of his origins and how he carries out his vigilantism. The very notion of Superman being angsty and emo is just unnecessary when he's supposed to be the opposite of Batman. Night and day, dark and light.
Of which, some people refer to Cavill's Supes as the Batman clone in blue and red. See, this is my point. For Batman to be like this, it just makes total sense. If your parents were gunned down in front of you like that, chances are it would mess you up as well. This round goes to Batman 1989. This is where this criteria has a really mixed bag. It has good supporting cast members, but Bale's Bat performance just comes across as forced. His Bruce Wayne side of the role is very thought-provoking, as you can see the pain in the man's eyes of what was taken from him at such a young age that guides him on this path to becoming this nighttime vigilante.
Although Keaton is not as physically on par with Christian Bale, he does have the mannerisms of a man that is dedicating his life to fighting crime as the persona that he is most afraid of from childhood, and doing it in a way that is so subtle and calm that it almost seems as though Batman is as crazy as though he fights to make the streets safer.
That is something that sets other performances apart from other actors. It is thought those that are more calm and calculating are much crazier, because they would not suspect somebody who is shouting or calm, which then leads them into a false sense of security, and by that point it's too late. Which helps a lot in this portrayal of Bats, as that is one of the dynamics of his character. He is a figure of the shadow. You don't see him nor hear him, and once you work out where he is, it's too late. I found the supporting cast in both movies were equally amazing. Pat Hingale was a great Commissioner Gordon for his time, and the same can be said for Gary Oldman.
Oldman is a tried and tested method actor who really studies the role he's going to play. A really good example is when he played Count Dracula in 1992, in where you forget that it's Oldman and you're actually seeing the Count because he gets into the mind of it and really understands it. The same is said with Gordon. He is an honest man in the wrong job in Gotham who wants to clean the city and the police but just doesn't know what to do. Until a vigilante comes along.
Michael Gough plays a reserved, wise, and witty Alfred Pennyworth, and he truly owns the role in this movie series. He has his ways of catering to Bruce's needs as both billionaire and crime fighter, whilst tastefully airing his own criticism. This is also true in the Michael Caine interpretation, although I find Michael's performance is one of more being assertive and actually challenging Bruce's decisions.
What would you call that? Damn good television.
Michael Caine is one of the greatest actors ever to come from England, and with performances like this as a surrogate father to the Dark Knight, it's not hard to see why. And then there's Katie Holmes's Rachel Dawes. Let's not say we did. I concur.
Kim Basinger's Vicky Vale struck me as aggressively investigative, wanting to know more about Gotham's newest guardian angel in The Batman, yet she's also very caring and wanting to get closer to Bruce and uncover why he's so withdrawn. It's only once she discovers who he really is, she questions his motives and wants to keep him safe. That a girl.
And she's Kim Basinger, so she's automatically a winner, and good gosh, she was gorgeous then. She still is. And then there's Jack Nicholson's The Joker. Living proof of a man who is enjoying this role too much. Because he was awesome? Yup.
Jack literally was a comic book character come to life with his take on the Clown Prince of Crime. Even when he was doing something completely messed up, you couldn't help but laugh. Whether it was the mob boss meeting with the death buzzer or the way he killed Carl Grissom in his own penthouse, he made it entertaining. Completely messed up, but entertaining. You have to love the insanity in Liam Neeson's Ra's al Ghul and Cillian Murphy's The Scarecrow, when they're possibly more screwed up than the Joker because they actually believe they're doing the right thing for society, when it's the complete opposite. At least with the Joker, you know he's doing it for the laughs.
This round is a tie. I'm okay with this. When you look at the 80s version, it has held up immensely well in the 27 years that have since passed. Especially with the gadgets of the Batmobile, from the grappling launcher to the Gatling gun and the shields. Even with the scenes with the Batwing is still pleasing to the eye to this day. Similar circumstances with Begins, as the movie was done with little to no CG, including all the scenes with the tumbler, with what it went through, including the jump into the cave. And that's basically it. A tie. Holy coincidence, Batman! Precisely, old chum. We've narked on Danny Elfman before with the Hulk 2003 score, but with the Batman score, it really helps set the tone of the world that this movie lives in, with its dark settings, and it feels like it belongs to a different time and place and more like the comic books. Especially when you hear the Batman theme at the start of the movie, and to when the Batmobile is heading back to the cave with Vicky Vale accompanying him. Really added some tension to that scene. Same could be said with Hans Zimmer's score of this bold vision of a man on a quest to champion the cause of the innocent. That's Knight Rider, dude. I know, but the point still stands. Could you imagine Batman working with Kit? Which Batman are we talking? Bale? No, let's not and say we did. Zimmer's score really reflects the world in which Batman operates and adds to the tone of a man on an impossible quest to rid Gotham of crime. A tie? Mm-hmm, a tie. I'm gonna surprise you here. Ugh, this ought to be good. It's a tie. Go on. When you look at the writing, special and visual effects, casting, and general payoff, both are good differently, but are good equally. Keep going.
Everyone has their own vision of what they define as the ideal Batman movie. Those that grew up in the 80s and 90s are more favourable towards the Michael Keaton era, which then carried over into Batman the Animated Series of this neo-noir look of Gotham. Some prefer the more subtle approach of Keaton's less talk and more work approach, as it gets the audience to try and work out what his next move is. And then you'll get those that were born in the 90s that experienced a 2005 movie that prefer a darker telling of the character with a heavier expansion as to how he became the Dark Knight, with a less than subtle approach to dealing with ne'er-do-wells. And as said earlier, both supporting casts help to support the protagonist, with the exception of one or two that were not given enough to do or just simply miscast.
Pretty much.
Well, Batman ties with Batman Begins.
Well, looks like I'm going back to the past. Later. Okay, thanks again.